just firstly like to say thank you very much to the Calandra Regional Gallery and the friends of the gallery for organising this wonderful exhibition. And I do also want to thank a few people up front, and especially my husband, who is a printer, commercial printer. He printed my piece. I consider an artwork to be not just the photograph, but how it's framed and presenting it in its best light. And he had to print it about 5 or 6 times because it's got a lot of black and it's on Bayrata paper, which is a very silky paper. It's very soft, and if you touch it or bump it or anything, it actually gets marks on it. So you basically need to let it dry and then you put it away immediately and take it to the framer without letting anything happen to it. And my framer, Joe from Cool Art, I can trust him. Like if I don't know what I'm going to do with the framing, you say, oh, it's not hard to frame black and white. But it really all is part of the artwork to me. So I can leave something with him and he will tell me if there's marks in it or anything, and we have to go back and get it reprinted. So that's just important to make sure that I say thank you to those people. And I have had I will quickly just throw out there about the Young Businesswoman of the Year. They rang me and asked me how old I was, and I made it in just by 6 months. So it's like, oh my God, I didn't realise, I didn't know when it was announced. But yeah, so young was a long time ago. But I have done all types of photography, from weddings, portraits, families. I bought a school photo run and did primary school for a number of years, and have always had a love of landscape and animals and wildlife. And anything that I ever received an award for was for architectural landscape and for nature, and never for portraits or anything like that. So now I have 146 artists that I look after on the coast between Gympie and Calandra, and two in Brisbane, and I photograph their artwork, so to get the colours correct or for them to advertise or go in competition and that sort of thing. And so I do all types of artwork, but I guess my specialty is movement in photography, and I do movement in my portraits as well. So when you learn photography, there's rules about the lighting and the settings and all of that sort of thing, but you don't have to stick to the rules if you want to push the barriers and go further and do something different. So I'll just quickly check on my notes. Also, I have always been a Canon photographer for my whole life. I've always had Canon. And my first camera was actually a Brownie in year 5 as a child. But 2 years ago I changed over to Sony, and because I had to go mirrorless and I had to decide what I was going to do with the type of photography that I'm doing. And Sony came out in front because of low light. I can take low light and get really sharp images and basically take my photography further. And it was so difficult for me to learn the camera, I felt like I was dumb, because with the Canon I was able to just, with my eyes closed, there's something coming, I'm changing it without even looking at the camera. I'm lifting it to my eye and knowing I'm changing something. And I had to contact the Sony ambassador, and I have a close connection with Fraser Leal, and he came and actually answered my questions. So I'm trying to do this in the camera, this is what I've done with Canon, I can't find it in this camera. And we would just go out on site looking at birds and up the beach and so on, and just do those settings in the camera. So I think it's really important that if you're into photography, you really have to know your camera. You need to you're not going to get a shot of a bird or the wildlife if your camera is still in your bag. It needs to be out on your shoulder or around your neck and be ready for anything. Get the shot straight away as soon as you see the animal that you're looking for or whatever you happen to find. And then once, if they haven't disappeared immediately, then okay, change my settings to exactly what I want to do. Because often if you're unzipping a bag or whatever, you've lost the animal that's taken off or whatever. So in this case, I wasn't actually looking for the jabiru. This is 5 minutes from my home at Lake McDonald. And I had that at my 600, it's a 200 to 600 mil lens and my tripod. And I went for a walk, saw the jabiru. It is a jabiru, not a bin chicken. Everybody says that. And they are around Lake McDonald all of the time. If you go out, I paddleboard on the lake and we'll see them, but I'm never going to have my camera on the paddleboard. So basically I'll only go with my camera to the bird hide, which is halfway between Timbiwa and the lake. And there's a hide where you can sit down and actually lean on the window and all sorts to get the birds and so on. So this photo, when I took it, was taken with the 200mm lens, 1/800th of a second, 100 ISO, which is definitely not how you're meant to take a photo of a bird, but I'll explain. And so the jabiru were feeding, and they basically moved really quickly. So if you see a jabiru as you're driving past, and by the time you've parked your car and gotten out, they're well and truly gone. But their big steps are so big, and they're just like going, they're actually moving quite fast. So you have to be ready. And when I got home, I'd taken photos of the birds feeding. They were beautiful. And this jabiru, they have the beautiful aquamarine golds and purples and greens. Have this amazing, it's actually called a long-necked stork in Australia. It's not called a jabiru, but we all say in slang that it is a jabiru. And that when they feed, they're very frenzied. They even though they're slow and graceful, when they stab the ground and into the water, and they stab the side of the fish, and then they throw their heads and swallow it down. And they're very territorial when they've got babies and when they're feeding. So this spoonbill just happened to come into a little bit too close, and the jabiru started chasing it, and there was just feathers everywhere, and it was very exciting and really quick and happened really quickly. So I was there for the laid back feeding and just feeling very relaxed and quickly changing settings to grab the movement, and then back to feeding, and then of course another camera setting, which if we want to go into camera settings we'll talk about at the end, for it to fly off gracefully with its lanky legs just sort of hanging down at the bottom. So I've had all these beautiful colour shots, and they're all in focus, and to me, when you're looking at images in your National Geographic and birds and say, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful bird, and the colours are gorgeous and everything else. I wanted to tell a story about the dark side of the jabiru and their frenzied attitude and the way that it's very yin and yang. Just like people, we all have a good and a bad side, and what ticks us over and all that sort of thing. And to me, the best way to make something dramatic is to actually make it black and white, and then also focus on to tell more of the story. I've blurred the image. So what I've done, I've actually taken the whole image and done a complete layer, another whole image of the same photo, and I've just taken it up this much, I'm shaking, taken it up this much and flattened it, and as it made it 50% transparent, so the second layer, and then I have flattened it and blurred the whole image. So that's why this horizon here is moving like that, and it's brought texture into the foreground. So these lily pads are now texture, and it gives the illusion of more birds than there really are there as well. But it's the two main things are making it blurry and making it black and white to make it interesting, and to try and say this is a frenzied situation here. So that's how I have taken it, and I am very obsessed with black and white. So I do all these portraits, and I love them all in colour, but they always end up black and white as well. And then I say to the person, would you like it in colour or black and white, and go down that process. And the other thing that about my photography and me is that it's all about being in the moment. So if I'm photographing someone's artwork and then I'm doing that for hours and hours and hours, and I need to be in the moment for that artist, I need to stop and go out into nature and just be there and see everything and be in the moment, and you won't notice anything if you're not in the moment. If I'm talking to you, you've got my 100% attention. If I'm in nature, it's got my 100% attention. So that's a bit about that. And the other thing I also wanted to say is the people that I admire as photographers, because I always get asked this question. And so there's Annie Leibovitz, which is a famous photographer from overseas. She does portraits, and she. So I'll say all of them. There's Chris Anderson. He is also a Brisbane photographer, and he does a lot of theatre work. And Cooper Grady photography on the Sunshine Coast at Coolum. He does family portraits and weddings. And then Darren Leal, wildlife photographer. He's an international wildlife photographer. But with all of them, the thing that attracts me to them is that they're down to earth and honest, and basically just they can do all of the photos with their eyes closed, but basically they're honest and giving and very gracious, and help others all the time with their photography, and that's what they all have movement as well. So even Cooper Grady with his wedding photos and everything else, there's movement and layers of showing where they are, and you get a sense of where they are and the people and what they're after. So, yeah, and I didn't know if there were going to be photographers here that might be interested in the camera settings. So if there's not, I won't go on about it, but yeah.
I've got to say, Christine, I'm very proud of Cooper Grady.
Oh my God! Sorry, I didn't know that.
I have to let him know. He'll be shocked.
Okay. I just think his photography is beautiful. That's beautiful.
You and me both.
Yeah. And if anyone comes to me asking for family photos or whatever, I send them that way. Yes. So, that's good. Yeah, that's excellent.
Christine, I'm interested in so you said that you had a Brownie. I've got one of those.
Yeah.
And, which was obviously a film camera.
Yes.
So obviously you've transitioned to digital. So when was that? And
so I changed over to actually when digital first came in. I entered a competition on that British Art Council and won the prize, and I won a digital camera.
Okay.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
Like I took it out, thought this was absolutely fabulous, and I took it out and took photos, and I hated it. I could not enjoy it at all, and so I stuck to film, and I mean all types of film cameras.
Yeah.
Still stuck to it. I did not move to digital until 15 years ago.
Okay.
And when I did school photography, I had to be in digital, just had to. There's no way I could get away from it. But also, I have friends and family, and everyone said when you're the photographer, they give you their camera and they say, can you take shots for us, or can you do this? And I was going, oh yeah, sure, whatever, and I'll do it. And I was given a Sony camera, and it was mirrorless, and I could not get it sharp. Couldn't get it sharp. And I'm just going, this is horrible. I just can't stand it. So it took me a very long time to be converted to digital, and I still have film cameras, and I still love them. I love the grain. I love not knowing that you have to be in the moment and think about what you're doing. Because if you're going to go out there and take 10,000 photos of a bird, then you're going to spend hours going through every photo. And you know what? The first one I like is always the one I go with. So I say, oh, this is amazing. There's something about it. I still have to look at every other photo. Can't help it. So I have to rein myself in all the time and make sure that I don't take too many photos, because it just eats you away. And then next thing, my husband's saying, are you going to come and cook me dinner? Or, you know, so yeah, it took a long time to change to digital. And, you know, I think that film photography has its place, digital photography has its place, and so does AI and everything that keeps coming. We've got space for everybody. But people who love film cameras will always know whether it's film or not.
Nothing quite like it.
No, that's right. And to be able to use both still is a skill. And even in digital, I think that, you know, it's nice to I still think about what I would have done with a film camera when I'm using the digital camera with the, especially the ISOs and so on. So yes, it was hard to change.
And do you have a darkroom?
No. But I actually have done courses in darkroom processing. And recently I watched a ABC program on Olive Cotton. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but she was a famous photographer. And I can't remember the husband, the famous, she was married to a really famous photographer, Max Dupain. And she, just watching her documentary, she basically just took all of these photos on film, and then she went into the dark room and made layers and layers and layers, and using a hand and all sorts to actually add light and shade and blur to make her portrait sing. And she has a prize down the Gold Coast every 2 years. She's obviously not alive, but every 2 years there is a competition in her name and honour, which I've tried very hard to get into and never have. And I just think how amazing with film, being able to do what we do now digitally with a Photoshop or whatever else. I'm more of I myself like to do everything in camera as much as possible, and I'm very hopeless with Photoshop. So my Photoshop skills are pretty much layers, So so I don't know if that answers your question, but
no. So you used to get all of them developed elsewhere, and
yes,
right,
streets,
wow,
in Brisbane, and then I met my husband, who is a printer, and he has had taught me. Tell me when I can stop talking. He made me start using him for printing, and then I had to wait to be fitted in, and I would say, you know,
can't you skip the
excuse me. I'll fix your photos, he used to say to me. So if every time I get into an exhibition, he says, look, it's the printing, it's the amazing printing. But so yes, I still send away. Still to this day, if I use film. So I'd love to have a dark room. Absolutely. But then you'd never see me because I am obsessive and everything. Like I do want things to be right all the time. But I think what I want my photography to say is I want people to go, I just can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is, but it makes me feel this. That's what I want people to say. I don't want them to say, that's been photoshopped. I don't want them to say, oh, that's the wrong setting. And, when you enter a lot of photography competitions, they will give you a lot of feedback about how you should go back at a different time of the day and take a photo then. And as you know, if you're capturing a bird, you don't have much choice if he's there at that time of the day or whatever else. So it's about using the light and the circumstances that you're in. And the same with going to seminars and so on. About 25 years ago, I went and saw some war photographers speak. And I walked out of there a blubbering idiot crying. But one thing that I always say and take from it is that they only have one lens. And they're getting the feeling in the person's face. They're getting the whole story. They've only got one lens. They've got to carry it all over the world. And they've only got one lens. And with me, when I first started travelling, it's like I've got 7 lenses, I've got 2 tripods with my backup camera in case one's not working, and I have my backups and everything else. And so I learned to actually take one lens on the camera without a bag and just use it for whatever and hope that I get something special out of it, which is, And I don't enter a competition, I don't go to do artwork to enter a competition. I do my photography, and if a competition comes up, I go, I wonder if this would fit in that process. Because if you start trying to do something for competitions, then you're not following your heart, and you're not. I feel like with people, because I do photograph artists in their studios as well, I feel like you have to love the person. I don't mean sexual love, I mean actually just really like something about them and believe in what they're doing. And the way to know that is to understand and ask questions and be interested in their work and learn something, because every person that you speak to can teach you something. And then you take a little bit of that one thing that you remember from whoever you meet and put that in your own life, and you become a richer person for it, and hopefully it makes you better at what you do. So
I just want to add, Christine, I use Christine for my photography of my work, and if you do pick up the Hello Sunshine magazine, all of the images in there, including the studio shot, is we picked up use her van to deliver all the work to her studio. We just spent all day having fun.
Oh yes.
Well, I have fun.
No, I did. I had fun. It's great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy it. But it is. I consider this as artwork photography, and if I was putting that in a photo competition with, as in these, for qualifications and everything else, they'd be going that it's blurry and that white light is actually making you focus there, and where is the focus meant to be? I've actually blurred a very sharp photo and made it blurry, because I'm talking about the frenzy and the chase and just trying to go, how do I make this a story? So everything needs to tell a story. And if you have to tell the story, then it's sort of not really working. And you can do that in portraits and landscapes and what have you. But
I think you captured the frenzy perfectly. Like you said, it makes it look like there's more birds there. There actually are. Is there just 2 of the jabiru?
There is just 2. And 2 jabiru and 1 spoonbill.
Yeah.
And they weren't ever going to kill it or anything like that. I had the same experience in Africa with an elephant chasing a buffalo. And when I entered the competition, I entered it in the sharpness and it all happening. And the competition, they basically crucified it and said there wasn't enough action. It wasn't, they were just there, and I'm just going, I was just there, like just getting this shot. And so, I used to worry about what people say. And now, even with normal artworks, everyone will have a different perception of what it means, and it doesn't have to be what I think it means. It's what it means to you when you're admiring art of any kind, or pulling to pieces or whatever. Yeah. So, and I'm happy for you to ask me questions if you have any.
I'd just like to tell you that that was when I thought, I've got to check my glasses, I need to make an appointment with the optometrist.
Yes.
Because I came from that one and turned around and I thought, I said to my friend, I'd like glasses from that. But I like it.
Thank you.
The movement, and I said, is this a new vogue? I like it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Lovely, the energy.
Yeah. And that's one other thing. People have asked me a million times, can I have a photo of the ocean? I want an ocean shot for my lounge room or whatever. And then I show them my ocean shots. No. Haven't you got any that's aquamarine and still? And I said, I'm a storms and wind and rain type person. Because I just want to feel, something. But I do love the serene as well. Just I don't know.
Well, the ocean hasn't been like that much lately.
No. It never is, isn't it? Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you.